Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. It's December 31st and we're out here harvesting some broccoli. Now we were hoping this would hold over a little while longer. They're not doing a farmer's market this weekend because it's January 1st or New Year's. And so anyway, what we're doing is we're cutting these heads out of here because they're starting, when they start getting like this, where they start getting uneven in height, and you'll see how they start like they're trying to open up buds just a little bit. They're perfect. I mean, the flavor's just right. When they go a little bit further, you'll start seeing them more yellow towards the bottom, and I'll show you that on a few of these. But with this particular broccoli, it is like super tender. It's really even the stem is tender. But you see how these are opening up and how they're starting to turn just a little bit tan. This means that we definitely got to do something with them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to harvest these. We've harvested some, and they're starting to get side shoots now. These are really growing like it's trying to go to seed now. There's nothing wrong with this side shoot. It's perfect eating. What we're going to do is we'll harvest these two, and then we're going to process them for storage. Here's another one that we had harvested the head off of last week, but you can see it's already putting up side shoots, and these are perfect like this. This is much more the way you want to harvest them, but it'll just take it. And I want you to notice that once you take the head off your broccoli, don't pull your plant up thinking it's not going to produce, because these side shoots here they're just wonderful. They're tender, and of course you can cook these just like broccoli. In fact, a lot of people prefer these better. I also want to come back and address, you can see where that last freeze got these leaves, and how now, and these could really be taken out of here, but how once it's froze like that, it starts dying off and turning brown. So some people might suspect disease sometimes on their plants because of that, but as you can see, all the new leaves are good and healthy coming out. But these ones that were up there whenever we had our last freeze, where it got down to about 30, it's not enough to kill the plants, but it's definitely enough to damage the leaves. That's why what we're going to do is pick this. We'll pick the dead leaves off, and we've got a real cold freeze coming. It's supposed to be down to about 26, and normally when they say that, we're out in the country, so we get a couple degrees cooler. So we're going to go ahead and put our fabric cover over these to help protect them against that. Okay, after you get it all harvested up, now it's time we make sure there's no bugs in here or anything. What we're going to do is we always like to use about a cup of vinegar in a sink full of water, and you can use this over and over. But anyway, any bugs, normally they'll release and they'll float up. Now broccoli wants to float, so what we do is we're going to put another little plastic tub on top with some water in it, and then just push that broccoli down, and then that'll keep it submerged. Now we let it set in here for about 10 minutes, and what we're going to do now, we got all these leaves left over here as we clean this up, and of course we've got more of this that we've got to process. But we'll take these leaves, we'll cut the hard stems out, and we'll cook these up into greens. Okay, once you let them set in there for 10 minutes, go ahead and rinse them off. And then what we're doing, of course you can do however you'd like, but we're cutting the florets off, and we're stacking them up on the tray. Don't worry about if they're sitting above the side of the tray, just so they slide in easy. Now we're saving the stems. Now the stems are tender. We could just do them with the florets, but our plans are we're going to slice these up, and we're going to dry these to powder up, and we'll use them in soups and such, so we can get that extra broccoli flavor. But once we get all these trays full, then we're going to go ahead and put this in the freeze dryer. One thing I want to mention about harvesting broccoli now, especially when it's later in the season. Now, I have grown broccoli just about year round, but the later it goes, it takes little tricks to keep it from going ahead and bolting. The variety helps, you know, if you have a heat resistant variety. But once you pick your broccoli, and especially if it's warmer, and it is a little warm today, but it's not that bad. It's not quite even 70, which isn't bad. But you either want to take and ice this down immediately. Now, I always just run it under cold water, and that does good. But you don't want it to get hot, because when it gets hot, it's going to start opening up these buds on here. And when you have some that's already forming your flowers and stuff, or your buds, and you can tell whenever they start changing colors like that, they're real susceptible, if you're in a more of a heat type situation, to opening up. And you know how it is, you want a nice tight broccoli. Now, I don't expect store-bought broccoli where it's tight. I always pick mine when it starts to the head starts to get uneven, like these, and when you start seeing the buds start to kind of form just before they start turning tan. They're nice and tender. It's got a unique flavor. I mean, very good flavor. So whichever way you prefer. If you don't want that, you want to pick smaller heads, that's fine too. Okay, we have these trays loaded up, and we've got them in here. Like I say, they're over full, but we're not going to worry about it. Now, if you watch my earlier videos, I've set my extra time after it goes through its regular stages, and then it goes down to its countdown extra drying time. I've set it at 10 hours because not knowing when this is going to end, and to make sure that this gets good and dry, so it'll be storing for a long time. Now what we're going to do, we've got the drain closed, and we're just going to start this thing. And if you haven't had broccoli greens, I tell you, that might be something you want to try, because for me, they're oh so good. Okay, I've really dried this a long time. Finished up last night, and I inspected in here and make sure that I checked one of the thicker pieces, make sure there's no moisture left in it while it's still cold. It's easier to tell if there's ice particles. Now what I've got going on is I'm warming the trays up, and that way it'd be less likely, once it does come out and I start packaging it, won't draw moisture. When it's really cold, of course it's cold outside and the humidity's probably a little lower today, but this way it ensures it's not going to draw extra moisture whenever I get ready to bag it. And here we go. And I hope you consider maybe starting to freeze dry some of your food. It's an excellent way to preserve it for long-term storage, not just like if you was to can it or something and canning, or we normally froze and vacuum pack our broccoli. But what happens when you do that and you go to cook it, it's kind of a little bit soft because you have to blanch it before you freeze it and stuff. Now when we freeze dry our broccoli, we just wash it good, and then we cut it up to size, and then we freeze dry it. We don't blanch it first, and some might say, well, that's not a good way to preserve it, but understand that whenever you eat broccoli, and say you eat it raw in salad or dipping with ranch or something, it's just been cleaned. I mean, if there's any bacteria, it's there. Once you freeze dry this and then you put an oxygen absorber in there, this will be fine for storage. But anyway, I hope you consider getting you a freeze dryer. If you want to learn more about them, there's a affiliate link in the description You can go there, you can check them out. They've got 3 different home sizes. And that might be a way for you to consider to start preserving your food. If you already do that, well, let me know about how your different items that you freeze dry turn out. And of course, if you want to see more of my videos, just hit that subscribe, hit the bell button, and you'll be notified. Give it a big thumbs up if you like it, and share it. It really helps my channel. Happy gardening.